All right, start recording. There we go. Let's get this fired up. Okay, it is Saturday night. I'm sitting here kind of thinking stuff over, and I think the first thing we need to address is that I have finally got 150 subscribers on YouTube. And this is my 50th subscriber. And as you can tell, the internet laws require me to take action. I had no choice. So yes, I did subscribe. I don't necessarily make it a habit of subscribing to the people that subscribe to me, but this guy had 68 subscribers. It is a law of the internet. You can't allow that. You can't allow the number to stay at 68. It's mandatory. You are obligated to put that one final vote in there and go, yeah, nice. So we did. I did. Anyway, I have no idea how to pronounce Jonathan's last name. Huisman, something like that. But anyway, he has noticed and he has appreciated. And he's probably like, oh my God, the last thing I wanted was to be noticed and appreciated for subscribing to some dumbass YouTube channel about art and video games about panties. He may have absolutely no idea what this channel's about. He might be somebody who recognized my name or I commented on a video that he did. But anyway, there's a bunch of stuff. I got a bunch of thoughts. A bunch of things I'm thinking today. Excuse me. And let me kind of jump over here and just kind of talk a little bit about what a long journey this has been, about all of the stuff that I've been putting together, because long ago, in what seems like an entirely different life, it was around, I think it was, let's kind of start at the beginning. In the late 1990s, when the Y2K thing was going on. Oh, good God, what is going on here? We can't have, oh, geez, that's broken. But in the late 1990s, I started studying marketing so that I could get my share of the money that was available for the Y2K problem. Because I was one of the few people who admit to knowing mainframe COBOL, particularly for the IBM 370 and 390 mainframes. And that, of course, includes knowing MVS JCL. And that was the beginning of a very, very long journey. I've been a software developer for, oh my God, upwards of 35 years. I don't want to say how long it's been. And I got all of this stuff that I'm working on. I've got a very large and very old project. You can see here I've got my notes on index cards, and they're all yellowed and old because they've been around forever. And there's a lot of notes in here, and there's a lot of stuff in there. And I'm still working on this stuff, and I'm still building it. And the reason that I bring it up is to kind of talk about where things are in this kind of development thing, because back in the early 2000s, I went, hey, I'm a fairly successful software developer. I should teach other people how to be fairly successful software developers, and I created a thing that I called PILOT, which stood for Perception, Initiative, Leadership, opportunity. Was it opportunity? Perception, initiative, leadership, opportunity, and originally it was teamwork, and then it was training, and at some point it was time management. I just kind of flailed around with that, you know. But that eventually turned into something called the Legion of Badass, which is what my Discord server is still called. If you're on it, it's where I'm streaming this. But, you know, that eventually turned into the Legion of Badass, and that all revolved around a fundamental concept of how things are done. And the thing is that back in the day, hold on, I got to... back in the day when I was selling my services as a software developer, this was what I eventually came to call the dog brain, which is where you have a thing that you are selling. You have a product that's your product, and you're selling it. It's your expertise. It's your training. You're the one who knows what you're doing, and you're out there selling it. But as I began to work around that, I kind of expanded that outward, because it's not just about you and your product and the customer or the client that you're selling it to. You also want to work with an audience. And there are kind of two sections to that, really. There's gathering the audience around you that would be interested in your product, and there's gathering the audience around you that already is interested in your product and most likely has bought your product and is pleased with your product, and you have an area where they can talk to each other. Now, of course, the people that haven't purchased your product yet aren't really part of your crowd and your community quite yet. So you develop an audience that's listening to you talk about the shit that you're selling, and then you sell them your shit, and everybody that buys your shit, you gather them together into a separate little group. And that separate group is one where they can talk to each other. The initial audience, you can have them talking to each other, but you don't need to. And I'm personally of the opinion that it's great when everybody can talk to one another, particularly when people who haven't bought can talk to people who have bought. I'm not selling anything just yet. I'm not here yet. Because the question came up, there are a couple of things beyond this. We also have the beetle brain and the man brain, as I call them. And the thing about the beetle brain is that's where you're churning out work, but you don't necessarily have an audience yet. And stepping beyond your community, you have to establish repeatedly within this community that there's a reason you lead the community, that you are a leading member of the community. One of the things that you don't want to do is have this community sitting around and all the people in your community are basically your equals or people who are very nearly your equals. You want to remain the leader of that community because you're trying to sell people shit, you know? And you need to be one of the top people in that community. You need to maintain that. And then beyond that, you have what we call the chief brain situation, which is where not only are you one of the leading members of the community, but you're recognized as the leader of the community. And when you look at these groups that are kind of formed around a single personality at the center, then that single personality is clearly the chief. When you look at people like Tony Robbins and his little cult, Donald Trump and his little cult. Donald Trump is at the center of his little group, and he's got his little cadre of people around him that are like his key leadership people, and then he's got this huge community of MAGA people around that. And I don't want to get too much into the politics of it, but that's something that's going on that you can look at and that you can see. And it occurred to me that Tony Robbins is somebody that was famous in like the 90s, and that's 30 years ago. And do people even know who that is now? I don't know. Maybe all the people I can think of are awful, like Andrew Tate. You know, I don't want to use Andrew Tate as the example. But it's like he's got his group of yes men around him. Elon Musk has his group of yes men around him. And you know, Elon he had his line of bullshit that he was selling, and he put it out there, and he gathered a community around it, and he demonstrated that he was one of the leading minds in that community, and now that community's gathered around him, and he can be the biggest idiot in the world, and people will still fucking follow him. And that's not necessarily the goal. You want your goal... You want to be somebody that, like Donald Trump said, could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and you wouldn't lose any of your audience. But you don't actually want to shoot anybody on Fifth Avenue, you know? It's the same way with Elon Musk. You want to have the money to buy Twitter, and you want to have the kind of following that if you bought Twitter and you drove it into the ground and made it into a complete fucking bullshit shadow of what it used to be, and now it's fucking worthless and nobody likes it and nobody wants to be there. It's good if you can do that. It's not good if you do. It's very important to have a community that will stick by you if you're a dumbass. But it's also very important to not be a fucking dumbass. I don't think he got the memo. I don't think anybody told him that you're not actually supposed to do that shit. But then in the middle, there's the really important part, which is the bucket brain. That's where you're engaged in the process of what I call filling your bucket, which is where you're learning the stuff that you need to do. And when I jumped into art and started doing this stuff, the spot where I jumped in, I thought I was going to be jumping in at the lizard brain. Honestly, I thought that I would be jumping in at the part where I'm developing an audience and I'm gathering them around it, and no, I'm not gathering an audience around my art, because my art is nowhere near good enough to have a real audience yet. And then I thought, well, that's okay. I'm in the beetle brain stage. You know, I'm in the beetle brain stage where I have to do a whole lot of work. And it turned out, no, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I need to jump all the way back to that whole bucket brain stage. And the thing is that the bucket brain stage lasts a particular period of time. And that particular period of time extends until everything you pull up to try and fill your bucket is not actually filling it. Like lots of people end up in tutorial hell, and they're like, "Oh, I need to watch a video on shading," and they go and watch a video on shading, and they go, "Okay, yeah, now I see how to shade. I see exactly how to do this." But after you've watched a fair few videos on shading, you watch another video on shading, and you're like, "I didn't learn shit. I already knew absolutely everything this person told me in their fucking video. I have learned nothing. I have gotten nowhere. There was absolutely 0 point to me watching this." And that's where a lot of people start to get mad. And this is something in particular that I saw in the online marketing world. People would be learning to promote their products and services online, and they would get to a point and they would just be like, "This is all the same shit everybody's saying. It's the same stuff over and over and over again. You guys keep telling us the same things over and over." Yeah, it's not that difficult. Rule number one, you have to know what you're doing. That's the bucket brain. Rule number two, the money's in the list. You need people to buy your product. And if you don't have anybody listening to you and looking at you and waiting to buy your product, then when you put your product out there, nobody's going to fucking buy it. Nobody's going to be interested, you know? So you have to gather that audience, and the way that you gather that audience is by doing something they actually care about. Now, the common way this is done in the marketing industry is to give shit away for free. And it's done they do it the same way in art. It's like there are all of these art instructors out there on YouTube and everywhere else who go, "Hey, do you want the brushes that I use to do my work? Of course you do, right? Well, you can download them for free from my website. And you can get them for free, but they email you the link. So you have to give them your email address. And they keep emailing you. You're paying for it with your email address. You're getting on their mailing list. And the mailing list is where you find your customers. And it's the same old thing. Now, the reason I bring this up, and the reason I bring all of this up, is to kind of talk about my plans for how things are going to unfold here, and just in general. Hold on, I gotta blow my nose again. But the reason I'm kind of going over this is to give people some idea of where things are going and where things are headed and where things are, okay? Now, obviously, in the future, I'm going to have something to sell. And in the future, the thing that I'm going to have to sell, first of all, is going to be the video games that I'm developing. So I'm going to need to develop a list of people who are interested in the games I'm developing. And I'm expecting to do that in the Discord server, which, links in the doobly-doo. You jump up my Discord. It's a fun place to hang around. We don't do a whole lot in there right now, but we're a cool group of people, and, we're all weebs, so we're fun to hang out with. And, because I've got 150 subscribers now, obviously I'm a little bit closer, just a little bit, to that magical 500 number where YouTube thinks I am worth paying attention to. And that's frequently the point that people start going, ooh, I can monetize my channel and start getting ads on it. Now, I don't want to monetize my channel. I mean, not like that, not with ads. I don't want to monetize my channel with ads. Because advertisers would be buying space on my channel to try and reach my audience and sell them whatever they had to sell. I don't know that my audience is going to be interested in whatever they have to sell. And I don't feel good telling an advertiser that they should pay for space on my channel to sell shit to my people. I just don't like the idea. So, part of that reason is, I think my audience, such as it is, will be sufficiently technically savvy that most of them are just not going to give a shit about ads. I don't give a shit about ads. So, advertising to me doesn't work so well. Advertising to my audience is probably not going to work so well either. And I don't think I should sell that. I don't feel good collecting money for that. There are lots of people who do, and that's fine. If you want to, if you want to take an idiot's money and let them buy something that's not going to help them, you go right ahead and do that. I feel bad about it, even if the idiot is a major corporation. But you can do that if you want. I'm not going to do that. So the thing is, I've been watching a lot of tutorials and I've been not learning anything from them lately. I've been, I just watched this, earlier tonight, I watched a tutorial from Mark Burnett, and I like Mark Burnett. He's very good, and I've learned a lot from a lot of his videos. And he did a video on cell shading a while back, and I watched that video earlier, and I did not learn a fucking thing. And the reason I did not learn a fucking thing is not because he's a jackass and he's not telling me the real secrets to cell shading. It's because I already know what I need to know. I don't need to watch another video. What I need to do is practice. I need to do the work. That's the important thing. Stephen Pressman had a whole book about that. It's called Do the Work. And what I'm doing is I'm moving from the bucket brain over here in the center to the beetle brain up here on the top, which is where I need to turn out work. And I don't want to. I don't want to do the work. It's not. And unfortunately, I got to do the work, because if you don't do the work, here's the blunt fact, okay? If you haven't done the work, that audience you need to gather, you're not going to get them if you don't do the work. And if you don't have an audience, nobody's going to buy your shit. And if nobody buys your shit, you're not going to have a community, and you're not going to be a leader, and you're not going to be the chief of any goddamn thing. It's just, that's not going to be a thing that you get to deal with. Okay? That's not how it works. You have to do the work, you have to gather the audience, and you have to prove that that you've done the work and that the work goes somewhere. And that's the process. And I've been up in this chief space before. I've been up here and I've worked in that space. I like working in that space. I miss being in that space. And it's really difficult being back down here in the bucket space and in the beetle space. And now that I'm moving directly into that beetle space where I have to fucking do the work. And there's a lot of shuffling back and forth that happens between here, because you'll be doing the work and then you'll realize, wait a minute, I can't do the work I need to do. And you need to drop back into the bucket space, because now you understand what it is you need to put in your bucket. And that's very frustrating, because you want to get that concept. You want to move out of that bucket space into the beetle space, and then you just want to proceed around the entire thing and just make your way and just step by step and get all the way there. And that's not always how it's going to work. You're going to have to learn and do work and learn and do work and learn and do work until people start to sit up and take notice. And once the audience begins to gather around you on their own, that's where you can start thinking about, hey, it's time to start actively asking the audience to gather around me. But that's a 500 subscriber question. That's what that's for. And anyway, I just wanted to kind of go over all of this and say, here's how all of this unfolds. And you may be at any particular point in your journey, okay? Like, you may be in that bucket brain stage where you need somebody to tell you what to do. And I'm not doing that. And you may be in the beetle brain stage where you're, like, doing the work. I can't help you with doing the work. If you're in the join an audience phase, hey, you can be part of my audience. Come jump up my Discord, like I said earlier. Be a part of the YouTube subscriber crew. Hit the little bell icon, all of that bullshit. But there's not a whole lot I can help others with right now. That comes down here. That comes when I'm down here. Once I start actually providing products to people, that's where I can start saying, yeah, I've got something to teach you, because look, people are paying me for my shit. If nobody's paying you for your shit, that doesn't mean your shit isn't good. That doesn't mean you haven't put in the work. That doesn't mean you're not good enough. But if nobody's paying you, nobody cares. That's kind of a problem with the way the world works today, is everybody kind of sits on this fundamental ideal that if nobody is paying you for what you do, you can't possibly be very good at it. That is absolutely not true. But that's the way we tend to look at things. We tend to presume that whenever somebody's not getting paid for the thing they do, they must not be any good at it. If they were good at it, they'd get paid for it. And that's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, because once somebody starts going, hey, that's really good, they start going, can I buy that? Can I buy that from you? And you go, sure, because I need the fucking money, because nobody's been paying me for shit for years. And then you sell it and you make some money, and people start going, well, he must be good at what he's doing because he's getting paid. And a big part of that is being willing to say, hey, I'm good at what I do, pay me. I'm not good enough at what I do yet. I'm not good enough at this. So what I'm good at, what I was up in this chief brain space for, was coaching people and telling them how to run their business and how to build their following and how to do all that sort of stuff. And I'm not allowed to make money from that just yet. And that's a deal I've made with myself. It's not like I'm not on probation or anything. It's not like I committed mail fraud. I got friends who committed mail fraud, and they're like, they're not allowed to sell anything on the internet anymore. And I'm like, major move. Because the great majority of friends I have who have done stupid, illegal shit and gotten caught are friends that I told, dude, you're going to get caught. Don't do that. And they did it anyway because they said, everybody does it. Yeah, we see how that's working out for Trump right now, don't we? At the $450-some million that he has to pay. Everybody does it. Yeah. Everybody speeds too, but you still get tickets. And sometimes, like if you know the cops are watching, maybe keep the foot off the accelerator a little bit. Maybe slow it down just a little. But one of the things I've been thinking about, one of the things I've been kind of working with on my own time is I've been sitting around thinking, how much of my work do I want to be line-based? How much do I want to be shape-based? Because one of the things I'm noticing is kind of it's kind of that I'm noticing that a lot of the work that I do lately is much more in the quickly rough out the shape sort of realm. I haven't been doing a whole lot of work, yeah, I'm aware of that, but it's one of these things where working with the same general concept, I kind of feel more comfortable roughing it out from this shape basis. I've been thinking about working more from silhouettes and kind of instead of trying to identify the details, just sort of getting the overarching form of what I want to build. That's kind of impinging on the other stuff that I've got there. Let me switch to something more. If I'm working from this kind of silhouette space here, I'm using a much broader brush and just kind of thinking about what is the overarching form of what I want to represent here. I think about the shapes and the masses, and I represent those within a conceptual framework of the idea that I'm putting together. If I start with silhouettes, I think I get much more of a feel for the piece, and I can kind of I can work from that to go in and improve the detail. And I think that's something that I'm fairly bad at, honestly, is starting from a rough idea and putting in the detail. I always want to jump directly to the detail. I always want to jump straight in and go, yeah, let's. I always want to jump straight in and go, yeah, this is where I want the face, and I'm going to have the face looking up, and here's the eye line, and here's the nose line, and here's the mouth over here, and we're going to have this kind of expression on the face. And putting things together from that standpoint, that does kind of help me get a feel for what I'm doing, but all of the details tend to be wrong, and I feel like if instead of that, I started out by going, hey, here's the front of the face here, and here's sort of the side of the face around there. Here's the top of the head, and the back of the head, and here's the jaw. If I start thinking about it in those terms, I start going, here are the broad strokes of where the body's going to be. Here's the trapezius muscle. Here's the chest muscle over here. And we're going to have the sternum here. And if I build for this kind of general concept, I feel like I'm going to have a better feel for how to complete the piece. And I feel like this sort of incremental, bit by bit refinement is something I need to work on. So I'm trying to think in those terms. Because a lot of the time, I'll start working on something and I'll go, oh, I need to remember that there's some body to that, and there's some weight there, and just thinking about all of the individual pieces and bits of the figure and of how it fits together. Roughing everything in like this I think that presents a stronger understanding of what the overall subject is. Now, I'm not really sure how to leverage that in terms of backgrounds, but I think just thinking in terms of where the silhouette is, and then going into that and going, hey, let's kind of highlight where the light would be hitting. Light would be hitting along here, and it would be hitting along the top of the head here. It would hit the side of the face there. And I think if I start working in those terms, I start going, okay, where does it hit and where does it not hit? And what's on the top and what's on the bottom? And then I start thinking about, okay, so what's in shadow down here? We've got the arm in front of that. Over here, this is away from the light. This is in the shadow of the face. This is the side of the face over here, and this is the side of the nose there. Over here, we've got the side of the face. We've got the kind of pit of the neck there. And we've got the edge of that and the edge of this, and if I start just kind of fleshing it out by knowing where things are and where things fit, and identifying, like, there's the side there, and there's the side there, and this kind of goes underneath of that, and this goes underneath of that, And I feel like if I start from the silhouette and I start going, where does the light hit? I think that's going to take me down a meaningful path where I'm going to learn stuff by doing the work. And doing the work is really kind of where I am. That's where I need to be, is doing the work and producing actual finished stuff. This is the same place I was a year and a half ago. This is the same place I was the October before last, when I was working on that picture of Gouda, and it was the first thing I ever really finished, and I was very pleased with it. So being here again is kind of like, hey, I'm ready to start finishing stuff again. And I did do a bunch of character design, and I did a bunch of completed character designs, and those worked out reasonably well. But I think if I start really seriously thinking about how to refine the silhouette of a shape through values and highlights and shading into a more detailed shape, I think that's going to be useful. I think that fits me better than starting from detail. I think I may be able to start from detail later on, but I think right now it doesn't serve me very well because I get the details wrong because I don't really know what I'm doing. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm sitting. It just kind of thinking about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it. You should start working in black and white for a while. I think that might be a good idea. If I start from something like I do something like that, and then I jump in and I go, okay, so the color I'm looking for is right in there, and I can kind of do some highlighting along those lines, and I could start like that and just sort of highlight the major elements of the form. And then, of course, we need to do our darker values as well. And then take those darker values and bring those in and kind of go, okay, there's going to be a shadow over here and a shadow over here, and that's going to be in shadow there, and then we'll put a shadow over here, and as we going to block that together, and maybe this sort of this kind of structure would be helpful. If I just kind of work in terms of values. I think working in black and white would be helpful, but I'm not sure how to go about doing that. Maybe I should look that up. Would that be helpful? Do I have something about that already? I have Hogarth's Dynamic Light and Shadow, and I have Marcos Matthew Mester's Framed Ink. Those would be helpful. Yeah, those I think might be helpful in doing that, or just grabbing some reference material and looking at it in grayscale. Probably work. Like if I go and grab jump into my I jump in and grab just like some arbitrary picture and go, okay, here's let's use this one here. And let's put it up here. Okay, so if we grab this particular image to use as reference, and now let's go ahead and rasterize that. Rasterize that to pull it down. Then we'll go to we'll pull all of that information out, and then we'll Control D, and then we'll take this layer right here, and we'll go. Let's see. Now, what if we just do saturation? Let's just do brightness. What if we just do? No, that's not what. That's not what we want. Let's go layer. There's got to be some way to do this. Layer settings. Jeez. New correction layer. Hue, saturation, luminosity. Okay. Hue, saturation, luminosity. Let's go. Saturation down to 0. Okay, and then well, shit, that's not what we wanted. Not new correction layer. I don't know. There's got to be a way to turn this into grayscale. It has got to be a it's got to be a thing we can do. If I go layer, is there a layer adjust? I think there should be a layer adjust. Layer settings, object, ruler frame, layer mask. New layer, new correction layer, layer folder, create folder and insert layer. Filter. There's got to be a way to do this. Shit. Edit. Tonal correction. There we go. Edit, tonal correction, hue, saturation, luminosity. There we go. And let's see if we can't let's see if we can't do level correction here. Let's jump in that. Here's the whites. Okay, let's drag that down here so our white point is higher, and we'll drag the black point up here. So you just kind of compress it and get better contrast. Let's take these and put them around the peaks right there. I think we want to pull that a little farther down. Yeah, let's pull that down here. Right around there. We'll pull this right around to that peak. Maybe adjust the midpoint a little. We get a little bit more. A little bit lighter. There we go. Okay, yeah, that works. So that's okay on that. And yeah, if I work with something like that and I look at how to get how do I get the right deselect brush. Let's go to our line brush over here and there we go, fairly dark on that, so that looks about right. And then the hair's kind of right around there. Identifying these values is going to be kind of a struggle, funnily enough. And the easy way, obviously, is just sample. Like, how close was I on that? How close was I on that? Whoa, that was... Is it really that much lighter? Yeah, it is. How close was I on this one here? I'm pretty much dead on with that. But yeah, getting these it's really that light? That light right in there? Oh, is that far off? Okay, I wasn't that far off. Well, I was pretty far off. But yeah, that looks like something I probably want to work with is doing some value studies and just kind of looking at where the light is, because I am very bad at color. I think that's a distraction. I think if I pull the color out of the equation, that might make things easier for me to work with. Restricting the variables. I think restricting the variables is the necessary thing. That's what I want to do at this point, is reduce the complexity of what I'm working on so I can pay more attention to what it is. Okay, that's I don't know if anything I've said tonight has been very useful. I'm working through stuff. I'm figuring out what I'm thinking, where I'm going, and how things are going to work. But if it's helped you, great. And do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. Hit the little bell icon and all of that crap. And that's where we are. And I'm going to start. I need to come up with some kind of schedule where I actually do work every day. I don't know. I'll come up with something. Anyway, great having you here. I appreciate every single one of you. And okay, bye.